Hello, hello, and welcome back to another conversation on the couch. I'm your host, B.A. Shepherd. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you are here. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the X factor of new relationships. But before we do, let me say hello to some people. Sunsets and road trips. Good to see you, OJC93. Good to be here. Glad that you're here. Thanks for being here. BMX Champ, good to see you. Big Rob UK, good to see you. Papa Murphy, Mac, Macho Man, Randy Sav, good to see you. J Page, Hugh, Columbus, Manny, Joker, DMW, what's happening? Good to see everybody checking in. Thanks for being here. Yes, sometimes. Claudio, Pumpkin, good to see you. Native Man, Amy, Salt Frog. So good to see everybody. Glad that you're here. We're going to be talking about the X factor of new relationships today. And so it's going to be a good time because new relationships give us this opportunity. And so tonight, when we talk about this X factor, what does that actually mean? Elise, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Oh, hey, it's Jenny. Good to see you. Daniel, good to see you. MN Beard, good to see you. Use Big Black, good to see you. Fireflyer, so good to see everybody. Thanks for being here. All right, so let's jump in. Let's talk about the X factor of new relationships. Yesterday, if you were here, you know what it was. It was my birthday. I'm going to keep on telling you why, because it's still March. So I'm just going to keep reminding you that this is my birthday month. Yesterday was my birthday. Boom, that's the high moment. See, the first 14 days, they lead up to the 15th. And then from the 15th down to the 31st, then we wind the month down. But I decided I'm going to just take the whole year and make this a year of celebration. So with that, we're going to talk about relationships, the X factor of new relationships. And what is the X? The X is the unknown, but the X is also the multiplier. All right. The X is the multiplier. There are things that we are assigned to do in life. There is something about all of us. We have this capability within us to do a couple of things and do them really well. We have the opportunity and the capability of having ideas. Okay. So we have thoughts, we have dreams, we have aspirations, we have hopes. We have that, right? We can produce thought. We have ideas. But then from having an idea, we get to multiply it. So you've heard me say this before. There are things that we are to do. We are to be fruitful. We are to multiply. We are to replenish. We are to subdue. We are to have dominion. We are created, have been made to be people that are dominant people. We are to have dominion. We are rulers. We are the authority. We are people that walk in power, right? We have that. Now, we don't always operate in it. Sometimes we back away from our power and then we live beneath ourselves and we live beneath our potential. Hey, Denise, and we're not operating in our full capacity. But you and I are made to dominate. We're not made to be dominated. Sometimes we go through life and we have these obstacles and we have these challenges and we have things that would hold us down, that would press us down, that would even depress us. And we've been talking about this place of being depressed, being pressed down when something is adding pressure to you and pushing you down, keeping you down. And it could be all kinds of things in life circumstances, life situations. These are the things that can depress us. They can push us down. But there's this something that we've been saying, behold, I am doing a new thing and it will spring forth. We talked about the spring. How when you take a spring and you put it under pressure and you apply that pressure to a spring and it starts to collapse and it feels like it's being crushed and pressed down, there comes a moment when there's an opportunity where that pressure is released and that spring launches out. And that's what we've been talking about in these 40 days of fasting and fulfillment and being focused on growing our lives and growing the richness of relationships. We've been talking about how we make the shift from being a depressed, pressed down people to making the shift into springing, launching, going faster, going farther than ever before. See, you've been pressed down. I got that. But there is an X factor that is available to you. There is a multiplier. That pressure that has been added to your life, that has been holding you down and keeping you from what you thought is your full potential, what you see as your full potential. That pressure is also a multiplier. And so while you're being pressed down, you still have your thoughts, you still have your ideas, you still have your dreams, right? You might be in a bad situation, a negative situation, and yet you are thinking of being you are thinking of something greater. Why? because your mind says, no, there is something greater. Your spirit says, no, there's something greater than this. There's something more. You might be having a fantastic life, and yet there is something else, something greater that you say, even things are going so good, I still, there's something else. There's something greater. That something greater is your invitation into the multiplier. You have an idea, you're being fruitful, but now you get to multiply it. What if you took your idea and you began to think about it on a greater level? What if you took it and you didn't think that you were going to fail this time, but you thought that you were going to succeed? What would you think about that would take you to a whole nother level? Last night, I asked you to take this action. I said, hey, listen, last night, we've been talking about the mountaintop experience. What is it that you see? What is your mountaintop, and what does it look like? Right now, and I asked you to do this. I gave you the invitation to do this. I said, here's what you do. I said, let's go on YouTube. All of us, let's go on YouTube and look up someone climbing a mountain, just so we have the right perspective about what it means to go to the mountaintop. If you're going to have a mountaintop experience, and perhaps you've never been there before, I think we need to at least see what it looks like. So I asked you to go on YouTube, and hopefully you did it. And I did. I went on YouTube and I went up and looked, people climbing Mount Everest. And I was watching the video of people climbing Mount Everest, and they were trekking along. And I noticed that at every a certain point, there were these things they kept talking about. They would set up camp, and it would be called base camp. And they would stay there, and they would camp out in the place, and then they would continue their trek. And then they would camp out in the place. And it came to me, some of us think that we've hit a plateau, right? You think, oh, I've hit a plateau. I've leveled out. I'm not growing anymore. Okay, great. It's time for you to leave that base camp and go to another level. See, when you get to the base camp, your base, you're laying out, and you're just there. You're camping out for a while. Sometimes on our trip, on our journey, on our trek, we've got to base camp, and we got to a comfortable place, and we just started hanging out there, and it's been too long. And you got so comfortable in this place of base camp that you forgot you're actually on a journey to the mountaintop. You aren't just on this mountain. You're not on this journey just to get to the plateau and hang out at the plateau. I think about it when I'm training people and they say, oh, I've hit a plateau. Great. You know what that means? That means we're about to shift some things. That means something's about to become a little more intense. There's going to be a different ingredient that I'm about to add to our training program so that we can go to the next level. And here's what I saw. They went to one base camp, they would move for a while, then they would go to another base camp. Then they would move for a while, and then they went to another base camp. And then I noticed when they got to the top, when they got to the very top, I was watching this video, and I noticed that there were all these flags and things at the top of the mountain. So I went and I did some research because I wanted to know about these flags. And so people, obviously they're making declarations that they've been there. See, and it made me think about this. Do you have your flag ready for your mountaintop experience? Do you have something ready? I mean, like seriously, physically ready, right? For this journey. Are you prepared? Last night I showed you one of the rings, right? I told you, I'm like, no, I have it planned out that there's going to be, out of this community, we are going to celebrate accomplishment, and we're going to have conferences and gatherings and all that stuff. And I know I want to give out rings as a part of that, like championship rings. There'll be some bigger ones. There'll be some smaller ones. I already know, like some people not going to want the real ones. Some of the ladies are like, no, I want a smaller one that looks more like feminine. That's fine. Cool. We're going to have it. But I'm thinking about and preparing because that's a flag. That's the flag at the top of the mountain for someone, that when we're having these celebrations and someone gets their rings because they went through the process, they went on their journey, they accomplished the goal. See, I'm saying, no, we got to have a flag. You need something that's going to mark your moment of celebration. Like, don't go through all this journey and not think that you're not going to celebrate at the top when you are standing at the top of your Mount Everest and looking out and seeing all of these other mountains and all of the rest of the world being beneath you. Do you know when you get to your mountaintop, you are standing in a place of dominance? But do you know also along the way, every time you get to a new base camp, you've elevated and gone higher? You are standing in a place of dominance over all of the other steps that you've taken. Every time that you take a step, every time that you ascend and go higher, you are placing yourself in a position of dominion over everything that was prior to that moment. Think about it. Like all this time you thought you were just struggling and nothing was happening. Oh no, that's not true. This time that you were struggling, it wasn't for nothing. Oh no, you've been getting stronger. You've been developing your endurance. You've been developing some stamina. You've been developing some resiliency. Like you've been developing. It may not feel like you're winning. Oh, but you're winning. Here's why I know that you're winning, because you're here right now getting a message just as a reminder that you've been winning. You're like, wait, no. I feel like I've been losing. Reframe. Let's reframe it. Because everything that has opposed you up until this very moment, nothing has actually been able to stop you. Do you know that nothing prior to this moment has been able to keep you from living in this moment? Your heart might have even stopped in the past. You might have been born. In the moment you were born, the doctors might have had to shock your heart or bring you back to life because they were like, doesn't look like this one's going to make it. But do you know that you still made it to this moment? Like you still made it. So nothing has been able to stop you. So you are actually moving and operating in a place of dominion. So you start to look back and you say, okay, no. I've been taking some steps. I've been doing some things. I've been moving. And now that you have a different perspective about what's been going on in your life, that you have not been destroyed, that you have not been defeated, now we're going to use that and make it a multiplier. What do you mean, Brian? What does it mean to have a multiplier? Here's what we're going to do. You take your thought, you take your greatest ambition, your hopes, your dreams, that thing that you've been thinking about, the new relationship to life. Right? We're not talking. It can be with another person, but right now I'm just talking about for you, like your life, between you and you. You look at your life and you say, "What? Okay, my idea, my dream. I've been considering it a certain kind of way, but how can I multiply that? How can I take this and stretch myself to go to a new place?" I'm excited because I'm about to tell you a story. So today, right? I tell you about how I help people out with their physical bodies, and I work with them and I help them transform, right? And so today I went out and there's a commercial gym. I can't say the name of it yet, right? But I was having conversation with them because lately, as I've been doing consulting work and going into different fitness facilities, I've been faced with the same thing that caused me to start my own gym like several years ago. And that was that people that are beginning, people that are especially people that are overweight and beginning, people that might have some kind of physical challenge and are beginning, they oftentimes don't feel welcome in fitness clubs. They oftentimes do not feel like they would be accepted in a gym. And it's a very intimidating situation and environment. And if you ever started anything new, you can relate to this. But people that don't feel like, oh, I'm not physically healthy enough to go into a gym. Now I'm not going to go, even though I need to go there and I want to exercise. I want to be in that environment. They don't feel welcome. So what I've been thinking at first, I was like, I started my own club and had my own club up until the point of the pandemic. And then we closed down, and I've been doing stuff online, all that good stuff. But then I started thinking about this as I personally have been going through my own change in life, right? As I've gone through divorce, as I've faced depression, as I told you last night, as I prayed to God, like, God, if you would just let me die, that would be okay. Please do that. Right? I was at such a place that I was dying on the inside. Marriage, family broken up, some business deals gone bad. Like I was in a very low place. And while I had injured myself so much so that I had to have hernia surgery last year, you all know about this, right? So I was going through this process and I was dying on the inside. Last year, I gained 20 pounds more than I've ever, like I was heavier than I've ever been, right? It was a real thing. Like I was like, I never had this as a situation. So all that being said, it leads me into these environments and I'm talking and consulting with these clubs. And so today I'm having this meeting and I said, listen, I have an idea. I said, I have an idea. I have a community of people that I interact with. I have a nice sized social following. And I said, this is what I want to do. This is the multiplier. Here's where the multiplier comes in. I said, this is what I want to do. I said, I want to invite the people that are in my community and then other communities to start. to have a beginning where they could feel confident. And I start laying out this plan to them about how we can help more people that do not feel comfortable going into the gym. People that are overweight and they want to lose weight and they're like, I want to get rid of this body fat and I want to live, right? And so I've been thinking about this and processing it. And I said, I just walked in and I said, look, this is what I'm thinking. Boom, 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 boom. And the guy, he's standing there and then he starts leaning in and he's like, man, that's really going to work. He was like, I would need to pass it through to some corporate people, boom, boom, boom. But the multiplier was, I needed to think bigger than being able to do something by myself. We talked about this and touched on it last night. What if you thought bigger than being able to do it by yourself? I didn't want to just do something ordinary. I was like, okay, I could do this and I could do that. I was like, but if I partnered up with someone, if I partnered up with this gym, this commercial gym, a national gym, I was like, if I partner up with them, we could do something big. We could impact more people. We could encourage them. And I was laying it out because I'm thinking, how can I impact more people faster than ever before? What can I do so that people that right now are at home and they feel uncomfortable and they feel like I want to change, but I don't want to do it by myself and I don't feel comfortable going in. I'm like, well, I'm thinking, how can I do something about that? For the people that I've served, how can I help them? See, when you start thinking about how you can do something greater than yourself or at an accelerated pace or at a greater level, what it's going to do is it's going to cause you to start to multiply it. It becomes a multiplier. See, your ideas, your thoughts of doing something greater becomes a multiplier because you realize if I do this by myself, it's just going to be one after another, after another, after another, which is okay. But if you are going to go from being fruitful to adding to fruitful and multiplying, then there's something that has to change. There has to be a different X factor. The X, the multiplier. See, fruitful and adding takes a lot of time. Fruitful and multiplying means you're now moving at an accelerated pace. What does that look like for your life? What does that look like for your relationship? What does that look like for your parenting? What does that look like for your children? What does it look like for your marriage or your business? What would happen if you said, let me think about this in such a way that I need to multiply my efforts and do something greater? I've been doing this thing all by myself, but what if I could get my spouse on board and we could work together? Now we are multiplying it. See, two can multiply. This is why when you team up with someone, you can go faster. Maybe you need to get a coach. Maybe you need to get someone to do therapy with you. Maybe you need a therapist. See, because you and the therapist, then you're now multiplying your health. I got a message last night. It was like 2:30 in the morning, and I was still up. I shouldn't have been, but I was. And I looked. And I saw in my message, someone was asking me, they said, my son needs hippotherapy. Do you know someone that could help me? Hippotherapy is when we use horses to help people therapeutically using horses. And I said, I don't know anyone that is a hippotherapist. I said, but I do have horses. And you're in the area. I said, has your son ever been around a horse? No, he's kind of seen them, but never really been around. I said, how about we do this? How about you and your son, you come out to the farm and let's give your son an opportunity to at least be around him. 2-year-old little guy. I said, bring him out, let him at least get a chance to be around. And if he's comfortable with a horse, we can work out. Let's take the next step. If he's comfortable, and let's get him on the horse. See, right now, the young man, he would have been operating by himself. But his mom and myself, we connected and we talked, and now there's a multiplier in his situation because now we accelerated the progress and in the process for him. You have the opportunity to do the same thing. There are things in you that when you team up with someone else, you will be able to multiply and move at accelerated pace, at accelerated rates in order to impact someone's life. See, this is why you have to deal with the fear factor. That's why you got to deal with the fear factor. because the fear factor is going to keep you in a small place, and you're going to think, "Mm, I don't know about my idea. I don't know if I should. I'm afraid I'm going to fail." And it's going to keep you from moving forward. But there is an X factor, there is a multiplier when you begin to think greater than what you've been thinking. When you begin to think about your situation and you say, how could I do this 10 times greater? How could I do 100 times more than this? How could, and you just throw a number on your X factor. What if I did twice as much? 3 times? See those words. You start to now activate something different. There's this passage in the Bible, and you might not be a Bible person. I always give that disclaimer. I understand that may not be your thing, but I'm just going to share it to you because it's life for me, and it could be life for you. But it says, now unto him, meaning God, who is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we could ask or think. And it goes on to say more things, but that part always gets me. Exceeding abundantly above all that we could ask or think. Oftentimes, the problem is not what is possible. The problem is in what we are asking and in what we are thinking. Think about what your greatest thought is right now. Your greatest aspiration, your greatest hope, your greatest desire. What is that greatest thing? And then ask yourself, why did you stop there? Why didn't you think more? What caused you to stop where you stopped? See, when you start doing that, you ask yourself, like, why am I stopping here? Am I stopping here because it's not possible? Am I stopping here because I'm talking myself out of it? Am I stopping here because I'm afraid? Why am I stopping here? Did someone tell me that I can't do any more? I can't do better than this? Why did I stop here? Why didn't I think for more? Why didn't I ask for more? Here's the problem. Here's the issue. What if you got in life exactly what you asked for? Would you be disappointed because more was available to you? See, when we start asking these kind of questions, it can begin to shift the way we do life. And you might be thinking, but I don't know how to get there. Great. That's a good thing, right? If I was to go to Mount Everest today and say, okay, I'm going to climb to the top of Mount Everest, I don't know how to do that. I have no idea what it takes to climb to the top of Mount Everest. I saw at one point the man had a mask on and everything. I'm like, okay. I do realize that as you go higher, that the air changes, right? The air pressure, everything changes as you go higher. I understand some things, but I don't know what it takes. I don't know. I don't know what it takes. But you go on the journey. If I really wanted to do that, I would have to go on the journey. I would have to go through the process to figure out, to learn from someone, to learn about what it takes to get there. And if no one was available that could teach me, then I would have to go very much, probably slow. I would think that would be a good idea, to go slow and adjust to what happens. I realized that if I was going to climb to the top of a mountain, I would need to figure out, okay, some things. There are some things. What am I going to do about food? What am I going to do if I get tired? Are my muscles conditioned for this? Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to go a little bit. Let me figure out. Let me check in with myself, see what's going on. All right, now let me take a few more steps. See, there is possibility that we can actually experience if we don't talk ourselves out of it. If we actually begin to think that there's a multiplier that is available for our lives. And I'm telling you, that multiplier, in large part, you can start looking for the who. Who are the people? Who is the person? What is the environment? Who do you need to be around in order to begin multiplying what is within you? Right? None of us, right? I'm a father of twins. I was carrying a seed within me that could produce twins, but I needed someone with an egg right? I had potential to make twins, but I needed to team up with somebody in order to make it happen. Like I from the time that I was very, very young, I thought I'm gonna be a dad. I'm gonna, be this great dad. I want to have children. I want to have 4 kids. I knew this from the time I was in middle school. Potential. But at some point I needed to team up with somebody, and then I got married and we produced life together. It takes someone else. Who do you need to get around? And you might not know exactly who, but I want you to start, and I want to encourage you. I'm not going to tell you what I want you to do. I want to encourage you to begin thinking about who you want to be around and who you need to be around in order to develop and incorporate the X factor into your life. We talked about it. In a year from now, by the time I celebrate my next birthday, we're all on this journey together. There are some things that we are going to accomplish. We are not doing life together and just going through and end up next year in the same place that we are this year. No. No, we are not doing that. And so since we're going to do that, since we are going to accomplish something, we had to think about it. What is it that we want to accomplish? Yesterday, I launched the fundraiser for my nonprofit, right? Working with young people, working with children, helping them to dream and to discover their gifts and their talents and abilities so that they can deliver that to the world. And we're going to see that with relationships and couples. They're going to discover their gifts and deliver it to the world, because we all have a gift and it has to be discovered, meaning not covered, meaning conceal. We have to no longer conceal our gifts so that we can deliver them to the world. What does that mean? It means you need to be in a new environment. I say that I'm the coach with a natural approach. Why? Because I use a farm and I use animals and I use life, and that's what I do. I try to simplify the complexities of life so that people can realize I can do this. Now, why do I do that? Because in part, that's what I had to go through in my own life. I was just a simple-minded person that wanted to figure out, like, how can I do this? And so I would take things like a notebook or a notepad, and I would just pull out a pen. If you're ever going to be around me, you're going to know I'm always going to have notepads. I went to the store the other day and I went and got some yellow legal pads, and I have some pens. I like pens. I like gel pens. I like to write. And I'm always taking notes and jotting things down, right? Why? Because I'm a simple person. Let me just simplify the complexities of how to achieve the dream. So where do you start? Start with the dream. Start with the idea. But what do I do with it? What do I do with it? Write it down. What? Write it down? Yeah, write it down. Just get some paper out. Start writing it down. Start writing down your thoughts. Right? Take them out. Here's why. Like, why should I write it down? Here's why. Because when you have an invisible thought that's in your mind, right? It's invisible to the rest of the world, but it's visible to you. So what do? The fastest way to turn an invisible thought into a tangible experience is to write it down. Because something that was invisible in your mind now becomes visible on paper. Because you've written it. You actually, with a word, through being able to write it down, through your hands or however you get it written down, you can take something that is in your mind, an idea and a concept, and immediately pass it from the invisible to the visible through your hands, and you write it down so it becomes real. One of the things I always do when I have ideas, one of the ways I write my things down, I have a dream, I have an idea, I have a saying. Because I have the capability of doing this, I'll make a shirt. You've seen me. I have shirts and I have logos on them and all that stuff because I have an idea. And the very first thing I want to do is I want to see my idea in real life, in the tangible world. So you have an idea, you write it down, you make it plain. Why would you do that? So that you can run with it. See, when you have an idea and you write it down and it's clear, then you can run with it. Not only can you run with it, but when you meet that person that's the multiplier, you can say, hey, this is what I've been thinking. Check this out. And then they see it and they say, oh, I can help you with that. I happen to just open my book And I have ideas talking about doing, different things, ideas that I could show you that we could run with. You have this capability in you, but you keep stopping yourself because you are talking yourself out of your greatest aspirations and dreams and hopes and possibilities and ultimately your mountaintop experience because you just simply will not believe that you can multiply what has been. You won't believe that there's something greater for you, but there is. If you've been around me any length of time, you know that the spring, when I'm starting to, plant my garden and do the seeds, this is my time when I talk about one of my favorite illustrations, and that's of the apple seed and why it is so important that you take care of the one apple seed. And everybody should be able to say at this point, you've been around, because why? Because if you take care of the apple seed, you're not only taking care of the apple seed, but you are taking care of the possibilities of an orchard. That seed in and of itself has potential to not only become a tree, but it has the potential to become a tree that bears fruit, that has other apples. And within those other apples are exponentially more seeds. And when those seeds fall to the ground, those seeds have the potential to become more trees. And so those trees are no longer just a tree, but those trees are an orchard. Your one idea, when it gets into the environment of a multiplier, when it gets into the right soil of multiplication, when it gets around the right people that are going to speak life into you, that are not going to discourage you, but they're going to build you up, those people that are going to rah cheer you on, when you get into the right environment and you find the multipliers, then that seed is going to look a lot different. The problem that you've been having, the thing that you've been struggling with, is not that there is something wrong with you, there is something wrong with the environment that your seed of potential has been in. And you felt like there was something wrong with you. Oh no, there is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with your idea. There is nothing wrong with your possibilities. You just been in the wrong environment. You just been in the wrong space. It's okay. I know. You're like, but those people, they are my family. And guess what? Love them dearly. That was the wrong space. It was the wrong environment. They were the wrong people. You're talking to them about your ideas and your dreams, and they're like, I can't see it. Yeah, it's just really not for you to see. Right? You're trying to convince people that are not like you, that don't operate like you. They are not weird and strange like you. They're not willing to be uncomfortable like you. They did not go through what you have been through. They did not fight like you had to fight. They're not bent like you. They're not made up like you. You're a different breed. Let me just tell you. How do I know? Because you are sitting here listening to this, leaving comments. You have to be different. You have to be different. And let me just tell you that seed, right? It can sit on the counter for a while. Time can pass it by. It can feel like I'm too old. Uh-uh. There's something for you right now. Since you are breathing today, there is something for you to still do. And so I want all of us for a moment to go ahead, look back in the past, and then realize and say this: the best of me is yet to be seen. The best of me is yet to be seen. Brian, you had some great moments. Brian, you had you overcome some great obstacles. Brian, you did some great things. You helped out a lot of people in your past. But Brian, the best of you is yet to come. It's yet to be seen. See, and where is it? It's within me. Because right now, a day after my birthday, I am the culmination of every experience and every opportunity that is available. Every possibility in the entire universe has converged upon this moment for me to do something with, for you to do something with. Look, think about it again. Every possibility that exists in the entire universe has converged, has met you here at this moment and said, hey, Here's your shot. What are you going to do with it? You mean to tell me that with every possibility converging upon this moment, you're going to sit there and talk to every possibility about your past? You're going to possibility, you and possibility are sitting on the couch together. And you're going to say, possibility, I see that you're here. Let me tell you about my past. And let's just talk all about that. Wouldn't that seem a little bit strange? If we really believe that possibility met us here, wouldn't it seem a little bit strange that we would take the possibilities of this moment and use all of it simply to remember the past, meaning again, member, meaning join together, to join ourselves with the past, to remember ourselves to the past? When every possibility is here right now, for you to join, partner up with what is before you. You could join yourself to what is possible. Yeah, you gotta leave. You gotta leave the past. Is it gonna be easy? No. It happened, but there's a thing that I would say. I consciously remember forgetting the past. I consciously remember letting the things that are behind me go, good, bad, otherwise. I consciously remember letting it go. I know that was great. That was wonderful. I got to consciously remember letting that go because I don't need that holding me back. I don't need my moments in the past that were so good. I don't need them holding me in the past. Because if I did that, I would have never walked into that corporation today and began talking to them about a greater future. Today, I walked into a place and I talked to someone and they have gyms all over the place. And I was talking to them about an idea that could immediately help thousands and perhaps millions of people suddenly. Right? Like suddenly somebody, and this is what I do. I think about the people that I serve. I think about the people that I feel like I'm called to. And I would encourage you to do this. I think about them and what they are struggling with. I want to picture that person that is so frustrated with their body right now. And they're like, I try to walk up the steps and I'm struggling to breathe and it's hard. And I want to play with my kids, but it's so challenging. I want to picture them. I want to see them so vividly in my mind that I begin to feel what they feel. I want to be in that moment with them. And then I want to say, I want to help them so much. I want to make a plan. Perhaps you're sitting and you're thinking about your marriage and you're like, oh, my marriage could be so amazing. I see my marriage. I see myself and my spouse, and I see us engaging or having dinner together and talking or holding hands or cuddling. Or, I see us having challenging conversations, but not yelling at each other, not using hurtful names. I see us being able to work through it in a healthy way. Oh, I see myself in a relationship. I see myself having a date where someone is not simply using to exploit my body. I see that, right? You start thinking about your situations and then you put yourself in it. You say, I want to accelerate that. I want to multiply that. How do I multiply it? Think on these things. Whatever things are pure and just and true, whatever things are of a good report, those things that are praiseworthy, think on those things. This is how you make the shift. This is the practical way of doing it. You start thinking on those things that are praiseworthy. What does it mean? Those things that you celebrate, start thinking on those things. Like it can be called meditation, meditating on those things, rehearsing those things in your mind. That's how you develop an appreciation for something. What is appreciation? Appreciation means when something has value being added to it. Your spouse does something nice for you. Appreciate that. Begin thinking on it. Begin talking about it. Begin rehearsing it. You're adding value to it. Think on those people that you want to serve. Think on those that would read your book or go to your business or be a part of your program or whatever it is that you're doing. Start thinking on them, because you will begin to appreciate them more. And the more you appreciate them, the greater you're going to want to serve them. And you're going to say, how can I multiply this? Do I need to go get a commercial kitchen? Maybe I need to multiply it, and I can't cook in my own kitchen anymore. There's not enough space. Maybe I need to go to a new level and get a commercial kitchen. Maybe I need to partner up with someone that has a commercial kitchen, and maybe I can work with them and give them my recipes, and they make my products for me. But I own the licensing, and I own the agreement, and I have a patent on my thing, and they can produce it. Or maybe I can team up with Hallmark and give them some ideas, and they can produce my stuff for me. Multipliers. So sometimes we need to get in a different conversation, in a different space, so you begin multiplying. You say, okay, what could I do if I got around somebody else that thought a little bit different, that encouraged me outside of my comfort zone, that encouraged me on my Mount Everest, to go to the top of my Mount Everest? What is your Mount Everest? Because I want to encourage you to go. You might have started out, and then along the way, you stopped because it looked too challenging, and you set up a base camp, and you said, okay, I've been hanging out here for a long time. I've plateaued. I'm not growing anymore. I'm not developing. I'm not being challenged anymore. I've been hanging out here long enough. Then you say, okay, what can I do to go to the next level? I want to see the summit, right? You want to see the summit. Whatever it is that you do, I want you to encourage you to think about what is the summit. What is the mountaintop? What is that place? And say, I want to go there with what I do, how I serve people. I want to go to that. I want to go to the top. I want to dominate it. I want to dominate every challenge that could get in my way, that would keep me from getting to the mountaintop. I want to stand on top of every challenge that I have been faced with. I want to stand on top of every challenge. The things that people told me when they said, hey, you have this disorder, you have this dysfunction, you have this disability, you have this in your past, you've been abused, you've been mistreated. I want to stand on top of every challenge so that I can do what I was called to do, what I was made to do, what I've been purposed to do. When you get that in your heart, game changer. Is it going to be challenging? Yeah. Watch people climb to the top of Mount Everest. It's not easy. I'm sure people have died along the way, but I would rather die going than staying. Because guess what? If you decide to stay where you are, truth be told, between the two of us, let's just keep it real. You already know you're dying anyway. You know you're dying here. The secret's between us. On the inside, you're just dying slowly. How do I know? I live that. I live that too. I was in a place where I knew the best of me was dying. I was afraid to step out. I was afraid to make the change. And I was like, it's just better to die than to disrupt the apple cart. But it's not. Because on the other side of that decision to die is a decision and a choice to live. That's how I found out that every possibility has converged upon this moment and presented me with opportunity. Like, no. Brian, you're not done. You weren't meant to die there. Get up. Let's go. Let's go. But I don't know where I'm going. Let's go. But what if it's hard? Let's go. Like, let's just go. And I'm asking you, I'm like, do you want to go with me? I'm going. Do you want to go with me? Because if you say you want to go with me, then we're going to figure out how to go together. We're gonna figure out how we can go together, which means, okay, we need to have greater contact. We need to have greater communication. We need to figure out greater systems, right? We need to do things because you don't need to be by yourself. If you said, no, I want to go too, then we need to be connected. There needs to be there needs to be some connection. There needs to be greater connection. There needs to be greater community. There needs to be plans. There need to be strategies. There need to be celebrations. There need to be events. There need to be some things, because if we're going, we're going to go and we're going to celebrate along the way, because we're not going to wait till the battle is over. We're going to shout in victory now, because we know how this thing ends up. How does it end up? We win. What's the story? We stand on mountaintops. I have the opportunity to serve someone, transforming her entire life. Said, all right, what do you want to do? I want to dance. I want to hike. I want to climb mountains. Bet. So here at the beginning, let me just tell you, we're dancing on mountaintops. Like, what's the end of the story? What do you want to do? I want to dance on mountaintops. Here's the end of the story. We're dancing on mountaintops. What do you want to do? Because if you say what you want to do today, then we can say, this is where we're going. What is it that what do you want to do on your mountaintop? I want to dance on mountaintops. Great. We dance on mountaintops. I want to help kids travel the world. Great. We help kids travel the world. I want to help people make greater contacts. Great. Let's do that. I want to help kids. I want to help marriages. I want to have couples. I want to help entrepreneurs. Whatever it is, we go. All right. So just get it in your heart. Next couple days, as you can tell, I'm fired up about where we're going, because I know there are 365 days between birthdays, 364 between birthdays. And I know my next birthday, things have to look different, which means I have to work, means I have to go day by day, step by step. And I'm not trying to miss a day. Every day I need to sow something into that. Every day I need to cultivate that, tend to it, care for it, so that it continues to grow. And before we miss too many days, I'm saying to you, do you want to go? Let's go. Let's accomplish. Let's fulfill. Let's prosper together. Let's dominate life. What does that mean? What does it mean? You always say that, dominate life. It means that everything that has been above you, your bills, your stress, the mental breakdowns, your frustrations, all that stuff that has been pressing down on you, got to flip it. We have to figure out how to go from being under to being on top of those things. No, I dominate my stress, meaning that I need to take some time. I need to get quiet. I go into the barn, groom a horse. I leave my cell phone behind. I go and walk through the pasture, take off my shoes, just walk through the grass, feel the grass between my toes. Lay down, look at the sky. I need to dominate my stress. So I need to find places of peace. The greatest thing that you could do for your life, and I'm shutting it down with this, is to know this. Every possibility has converged upon this moment and presented you with an opportunity. And the greatest thing you could do, carpe diem. Seize the day, seize the opportunity of every possibility that has met you right here. That's for you. It's for me. So let's go get it. Father, thank you for this day that you have blessed us with, that you have given to us so that we can rejoice and be glad. Thank you for every possibility that has met us here in this moment. Thank you for the refreshing of our minds and our hearts. Thank you for the excitement that we feel just in our environment, in our atmosphere, the energy that is just here. God, I know that somebody knows that this is their moment, this is their time. They know that this is their go season. I know that someone is so convinced that this is their go season, and I just pray for them right now. I pray that they go and they go quickly, that they spring into action, that they do not delay, that they do not miss this moment, that they do the greater thing, that they stretch out and do the greater thing, and that they take the greater risk, and that they expand beyond where they've been, because in their expansion, in that X factor multiplier, is a change in their life that they hadn't even imagined. There is something greater that is available than what you have ever even dreamed, but it is requiring your action. And so, Father, I pray that you would bless someone with the strength, courage, zeal, vision to go, and go quickly. And I pray that as we go, we would be healed from our doubts, healed from our shame, healed from whatever has held us back, healed from the abuse, healed from the scars. I pray that as we go, we would become stronger and healed, made whole, that we would be saved from those things in our past that have been robbing us of life more abundantly, and that we would step into our greatest and highest callings, that we would press toward those marks, that we would seek after those things, that we would go for that prize, and there will be no doubts that we will achieve. I thank you for this time, and I pray blessings upon families, upon homes, upon finances, upon businesses, upon health, upon relationships. I pray that you would bless abundantly, pour out in a mighty way, open up the windows of heaven and pour out blessings. And we will thank you now, and as these blessings show up in our lives, we will thank you then too. You have been so good to us, and we appreciate you. Thank you for these moments. We ask blessings as we go, and ask that you would encamp angels of protection around each one so that they can step into this next season protected by your hand. Thank you, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, everyone. Whew. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. I'm excited for you. So it's go time. Let your mind be open. Like, let your mind go to that X factor multiplier place where you start taking your thoughts that have been and you say, all right, what does my next level look like? What if I simply disturb what I've been thinking and think something greater? It's going to be amazing. I'm telling you, it is. The best is yet to be seen. Oh, but we're going to see it, because we are going to do what? This, meaning not cover, meaning conceal. We're going to discover the best that is within us. I love you all very much. I'm B.A. Shepherd, 2 P's, A-R-D, reminding you to be a shepherd. The world has enough sheep. Love you much. See ya.